Hey everybody, how are we out there? John St. Baptiste right here. How's everybody doing today? Hey everybody, how are we out there? Oh, hey, I've got an echo. John St. Baptiste right here. How's everybody doing today? See if we can fix that. Hey everybody, how are we out there? Sorry about that. Going through some technical issues. I'm still learning all this stuff. Amy is going to be a wee bit late today. She's got some real life stuff going on, so she'll be with us shortly. But we're going to do this thing. Everybody watch the episode? Yes, no, maybe? Sorry, I'm still learning how to do this host thing. Well, I did, and I liked it quite well. I've actually watched it 4 times now. 5. So we'll dive right into it here in just a moment. Did anybody have any questions from last week, or did anybody have anything that they wanted to say? Anything like that? So, oh, Josh, you watched it last night. Karen, you binged them all. I mean, hey, that's fine if that's what you want to do. We're just going episode by episode here, so for anyone who's doing that, please don't spoil. Of course, I've read this book about 20 times, so, you know, it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, I'm having some technical issues here, folks. I'm really not trying to waffle on you. I'm just trying to fix this, and since my co-host is not here, don't have somebody charming who can make up for that fact. So, yeah, so let's go right into this. So, start off right there in the garden with the sword, and it's the only time God ever asks about it. And Ezra File says, "Oh, I must have misplaced it. It was that big sharp thing you gave me, right?" I love how, if you think about it, an angel invented lying. That's something I didn't catch, I don't think, reading this until probably like my 5th or 6th read through of the book. But when you think about it, an angel invented lying. And probably like my 5th or 6th read through. Oh, that's funny. Oh, got an echo again. Yay. Yeah, it did kind of feel like a breakup. We're going to get into that in a minute over Nicole. And Shelly, welcome. I don't believe I've seen you here before, so thank you for bearing with me. Like I said, things are a little odd right now. Oh, the sword is Lightbringer. Yeah. No, I'm going to take these off. It's getting dark in here. So we go from there to Mesopotamia, and we have Noah and the flood, and you know, that whole thing going on. And you know, once again, it's a funny dynamic that Crowley is the one who seems sympathetic here towards humanity, whereas Ezra File says, "Oh well, you know, God has a plan; it's ineffable." Hi, Barbara. Oh, Mackenzie, you like my shirt? Yes. Thank you. And Crowley's like, bugger that ineffable stuff. What are you, destroying humanity? That's the type of thing my lot do. And Ezra File's like, oh well, it's ineffable. It's part of the ineffable plan. He's not going to kill them all. Well, just this lot, like not the Chinese or the Native Americans or the Australians. And I'm sorry, Braun, I totally thought of you when I heard that line, because I was like, that's great, because then Crowley's like, yeah. Oh, Kimberly Morris has the script book. That's cool. Yeah, I might be buying that after I finish up the show. So probably when I get back from con, because the way it works out, we'll actually be doing the 6th episode the night before we leave for con, which would be kind of cool. And there might be a little something that Thursday night, maybe a little bit of hijinks. But oh, Brown, you were happy that they mentioned Australia. It's great. But that is actually a literal biblical thing. After the flood, the rainbow was created by God as part of the pact with man never to flood the earth again. And I love how they pull the little biblical references in here without being heavy-handed with them. And they just somebody like me who has studied this stuff a lot catches it and picks it up. And for other people, it's just like an amusing thing. And yes, it's great that the one unicorn ran off, because that's why unicorns died off, because they couldn't mate anymore. I think that's fantastic. So after that, we go to the crucifixion. I personally had so many mixed feelings on the scene. I don't press stylize to anybody, but that's my personal faith. And it's pretty intense. And anytime you see a crucifixion scene, it's an intense thing, whether that's what you believe in practice or not. I like how they threw a bit of levity in there, but still kept it as serious as it was. And I love the reference that when Ezra File, what's this, Kimberly? I'm in stereo in your house? That's cool. Just all over the place. But I love that Ezra File's like, did you ever meet him? And Crowley's like, yeah, well, I did that one time that I showed him all the kingdoms of the world. Because that's another biblical reference. Those are great in here. And by the way, we have Amy Truer Than True.
Hi.
Benzelbub.
Beelzebub, that was the one that I said.
Oh, I don't know which I like more.
I'll have to let you choose.
I think Beelzebub probably makes more sense.
Beelzebub?
Mm-hmm.
He's not allowed an American god's name because he didn't do that one.
Yeah.
What did we miss? Have you been watching?
Right now, we're talking about the crucifixion. By the way, everybody, welcome Amy and Ben. Thank you guys. I'm glad you could make it. I know you had some real world stuff going on.
Child issues.
Yes.
Child issues. It happens. Shit, mine's a man grown, and I still have child issues once in a while. They're just different ones than you guys deal with.
Yeah, if you ever want to swap, just say the word. Seriously.
Oh. No, I got that lot out of the way a long time ago, and I don't believe I'll ever be going back. I don't believe that's possible unless I can. Yeah, I don't think I can do any divine birth things.
No.
And I wouldn't look good pregnant, you know.
I don't know. People are supposed to glow when they're pregnant.
Yeah. That's not true. You look like you're glowing because your face is so greasy. You have this shine. My experience, anyway.
Fair enough.
So, really quick, we'll get right back to that because we seriously, you guys missed me waffling and then talking about the first two scenes. But first, would you guys like to say hi to everybody who's in the chat right now?
There's quite a few. Who's here? W. Heron, new face, I think. I don't recall seeing them in the chat before. So hello.
She's been here a couple times. She actually lives in Austria, so
Okay.
even more in the future than you guys are.
Wow. Johnny B. Crazy, of course. Bron Holler, Bear Island Josh, Anna Main Leather Nicole, Mackenzie L. Burns. Who else have we got? Kimberly Morris, Barbara McCullough. Busy tonight.
The one trainer rule them all.
Yes. Shelley M. Duarte, which I've probably just completely butchered. Hello. Was Peter Griffin in earlier?
Yeah, he
Someone
was
said
here.
hi.
I don't know if he's lurking or if he.
Well, hello if you're lurking. I hope I haven't missed anyone because I can't scroll all the way back in the chat. But hello.
And Lady Laura Dane, Starfall.
Where's she hiding? Oh, there she is. Hello.
I feel like you get another name every time I see you, miss. It's kind of cool. Just collect titles like a knight or something like that. Pretty awesome.
10-minute intro like Daenerys.
Yeah.
I do my best, you know. So okay, let's talk about this crucifixion scene. I kind of mentioned my thoughts and feelings on it. Did you guys have any?
It was actually quite unsettling compared to the kind of the comedic nature of the rest of the show. It was actually like probably the most serious scene that they've had. Like they didn't make a joke out of it like they do with everything else.
Well, there was sort of, I suppose you had almost a little bit of comic relief with Crowley and Ezra File chatting, but the actual scenes and the sort of the sounds coming off Jesus being nailed up was sort of very visceral. It wasn't sort of it wasn't Hollywood as such. It was a lot sort of more realistic. Like it wasn't done to a cast of thousands. With the sort of the screaming, it was the
it wasn't overly dramatic. It was kind of realistic.
Yeah, there was more pain in it, for want of a better term.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys picked this up. I was talking about this like literally right when you popped in. Yeah, I think they handled it quite well. I mean, there was that levity there, but it wasn't, you know, a mockery type thing.
No.
But, I don't know if you guys picked this up. Christ's temptations, one of them was that the devil in the Bible promised him, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and said, this can all be yours if you just bow down and worship me.
I didn't know that bit. The temptation thing I always remember is the like what do you call it? The desert, the 40 days and nights in the desert.
Right.
That's kind of the only one that sprang to mind. And then when he mentioned that, I was thinking, is that an actual thing or is it? And yeah, obviously
I'll have to plead the power of ignorance on that biblical stuff.
But I
know more about it.
It was kind of funny because that's literally what the verse in the Bible says. I showed him or Christ was shown all the kingdoms of the world, and you know, I just thought that was funny, and then funny and serious at the same time, and then at the very end of that scene when, you know, Crowley asks Ezra File, well, what did he do?
Yeah.
And Ezra
people to be nice to each other.
People to be kind to each other. Yeah, that'll get you every time.
Yeah.
So Johnny's being awful. He apparently laughed during the whole scene, but he feels horrible for it. So you should, Johnny. Feel guilty.
Wasn't him doing the nailing.
Bear Island Josh said he's expecting to start hearing "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life."
Well, that's not the only Monty Python reference we thought of watching this episode.
That is true. Yes.
By the way, before we go on, did you guys have any particular thoughts about those first two scenes in the Garden of Eden and at the flood?
The conversation on the Noah's Ark building part was pretty funny. The God's a bit tetchy.
Yeah.
Putting it mildly, really, isn't it?
And it's the fact that Crowley is the one pointing out, "Well, you're killing children." That's a bit off, isn't it? It's him pointing out the sort of the unpleasant side, but Ezra File's just almost trying to sweep it under the rug.
Well,
it'll be all right afterwards.
He didn't mention children. He said kids, just as a goat ran past.
Wow.
Kids and baby goats. The same principle there. But no, that's what I was going to say.
Nice double entendre there.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to say. It's like it should be the other way around. The angel's the one justifying, some mass genocide, while the demon's going, why are we killing all these people? This sounds like the kind of thing that our side would be doing, not yours. But Ezra File's got, there's a reason for all of it, and there's an excuse, and
it's sort of very, very British. It'll be all right in the end.
I also have to point out that Crowley's hair was looking particularly wonderful in that scene.
Not quite as good as Ben's, but it was close.
Well, he didn't have the sideburns in that scene.
He didn't have the sideburns. That's the thing that does it. But I have to say, the lovely thick red hair and the sort of Viking braid he'd got going on with it as well. That was a bit.
Ben, I figured that the scene where he has sideburns, I figured you were quite delighted with.
I was happy with that. Yes, I should have got myself a top hat to wear.
I can't compete, but don't worry.
Good.
Maybe
on the unicorn
with your wife after Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Send you
a Lincoln top hat.
Oh yeah, I'll bring that as a souvenir for you.
What is it called? What is it called when these ridiculously tall ones?
It's a stovepipe hat, I think.
Stovepipe hat. Thank you. Because it looks like a freaking stovepipe. It's like a foot tall.
Yeah, it's gone full Brunel there.
It's a little much for me. I think if I got a top hat, I'd go with more the slash variety.
Both of you two in top hats would collide with door frames. It's a bad idea.
You need a collapsible one.
Collapsible top hat. At least then it'd fit in my luggage and I wouldn't have to wear it on the plane.
Yeah, think about it. If it made it, have it activate, when it activates, makes a noise like a swanee whistle as it goes up and down.
I don't know. We're going with the Neil Gaiman references. Amy, if you wore a top hat on the plane, I am sure somebody would think you were dead.
Maybe. That's the point, actually. Apparently on long-haul flights, you're usually flying with at least one dead body. So I'm told. Doesn't bother me, but,
Depends if they're sat next to you or not.
True.
So
they'd be quiet.
One thing I did bring up about the very first scene in the episode, and then we'll jump back to where we left off. Do you realize that Ezra File invented lying?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So it's trying to say that he just misplaced the sword.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just lost it. It's never been mentioned again.
And that's something I don't know if you guys, because I know you guys have both read the book. I don't know if you caught it the first time you read it. It took me 5 or 6 read-throughs before I found it. He invented lying. That's really funny.
It is.
Yeah.
That's often the thing with these kind of when you're kind of dealing with mythological or the supernatural, that kind of thing. It often is a thing that the so-called bad guys are the ones who always tell the truth, though. It's kind of a common theme that actually they don't lie and they'll say things how they are.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that this drives home that we've talked about before. Crowley and Ezra File have more in common with each other than they do with other angels and demons. Like,
Yeah.
we meet some angels later, and anyone who has sensibilities that this word's going to offend you, cover up your ears. They're cunts.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. But like the angels who we meet in this episode are just, I wouldn't want to hang out with them.
No.
No, they're.
I really want to go
Particularly Gabriel.
I don't know. He's probably a bit more
Michael's almost worse than Gabriel.
Yeah.
Which I'll get into the humor of that when we get to that scene, but involving what their jobs are.
Mhm.
But so then we go to after the crucifixion, Rome, 8 years later, and it's just a wee little scene in a wine hop. But I think it's really well done. When Ezra File says, "Are you still a demon?" He's like, "What do you think? I'm an aardvark?"
It's pretty good.
And whilst wearing his authentic Roman sunglasses as well.
Yeah, that did throw me a little bit, but
Yes, I do. I do love how Crowley always finds proper sunglasses. And Mackenzie pointed out that what is this? The eyes of Crowley are a little creepy, but it makes you wonder why they couldn't give people on Game of Thrones, Danny, book accurate eye colors.
obviously Amelia Clark couldn't hack the contact lenses like David Tennant can.
I think I actually read something she couldn't like physically wear them.
I heard something like that as well.
Yeah, I think it's different though. What David Tennant's wearing are sclera lenses, so they cover like the entire eye rather than just the iris. And they look like they should be more uncomfortable, but they're not, because you're not blinking over the edge of them all the time like you are with sort of normal iris covering contact lenses. If that makes sense. So like the edge sits completely behind your eyelid, whereas with iris ones, every time you blink, if they're not.
There was a company. There was a company that you could get all sorts of like. This was back in my club kid days, and you could get all sorts of like interesting. Like if you've ever seen the shark eye contacts that just make your entire eye black.
Yeah, the sclera lenses.
But they had Dune contacts, which I thought was awesome. Like it's blue and like it's blue and blue and blue, like your entire eye. And I spent like $250 on these freaking things.
And then you wear them
I couldn't put them in. I couldn't put them in. Like I'd have a whole bottle of Visine and still couldn't put them in. They're still sitting around here somewhere.
There's a knack to that. I've worn like weird and wonderful contacts for like fancy dress stuff before, and there is a knack to it.
I can't do it.
You can't do it at all, can you?
But yeah. So, do you guys have any thoughts on the Rome scene?
There's a very entertaining line in it where they're kind of discussing what they're there for, and Crowley's there just for a small temptation thing, and talking. Ezra File's talking about a restaurant, which is the only reason he's there, and then goes, "Let me tempt you," and then he's like, "Oh, no, that's your job."
I love that he's a foodie. I know you guys missed last week, but the scene where they're sitting in the diner and he's eating. Somebody said they thought it was pink and white angel cake.
Yeah,
and Crowley's just not eating. He's like, "Why would I bother with that?"
He doesn't think. I don't know if he does eat.
It's never mentioned in the books that he eats.
Yeah, because he says in this scene, "I've never eaten an oyster."
But that's kind of the other almost irony, isn't it? The angel's giving in to all the earthly temptations, whereas the demon
he's being indulgent and
yeah. We did see episode 2 since last week, so we haven't missed anything. And
I've listened back to the stream from last week as well. So
I did my best. It was very rough on my own. So
No, it was fine.
I'm really glad you guys showed up this week.
Hopefully the beast sleeps now, so we shouldn't have to
Yes.
toddle off. I hope not.
So we go from that to when the deal is actually kind of made.
Yeah.
Arthur in England.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, it's not so much made, is it? It's kind of
Suggested.
suggested by Crowley. But
Yeah, that's
that was Monty Python reference number 2. When Ezra File going through the mist, and he's kind of just expecting, we are the knights who say ni, to come out of it or something.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't take it too far. I'm glad nobody asked for a shrubbery to be brought. That would have been a wee bit too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
You know, one of the great things about this show is there's so much, like, no matter what you're into, no matter what form of entertainment or anything like that, there are wee little things you can pick out that you can be like, oh, I got that reference. And I think it's brilliant how many they throw in there.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm waiting for a Neon Genesis Evangelion reference to like just pop out of nowhere, or Cowboy Bebop or something like that, and I'll be like, I don't think 90% of the people watching this got this, but I did.
Yeah.
I've got people at work starting to watch it now as well, so I think someone's binged it already. So
yeah,
they're like, oh, I won't spoil it for you, and I'm sitting there thinking, you're not going to spoil it really, because like I know what's going to happen.
Bear Island Josh, yes, I entirely agree with you. As an arms and armor geek, yeah, the armor is completely period-wise wrong. That's like 16th century armor. That is not what anybody would have been wearing in the 6th century.
No.
And it's ceremonial armor too. You know, side note, because this is my channel, I can do whatever the hell I want. That's one of the things that always pisses me off about GRM's books, and you don't see quite as much in the show. Like the ridiculous headgear that these guys are supposed to be wearing during combat. No, that's like those are ceremonial helmets. You don't go into combat with something with antlers sticking out.
No, it does kind of make yourself a bit of a target, doesn't it?
And not to mention, it'd probably throw you off balance, I imagine.
And it would hurt your neck. Like, I don't know about either of you, but I've shot a deer and I've had a pair of antlers before. That's like an extra, like, 8 pounds.
I suppose it's for a set of antlers. If you lose your sword, you can still nut people. But...
and they wouldn't be attached well.
No.
Oh, Barrel and Jeff says it's 14th century plate. You may be right.
Oh, Julianne 89's popped in as well. She's not feeling well, but she's coming by to give some love. I hope you feel better, Julianne.
Yes, definitely, Julianne. By the way, if anybody who follows my channel ever checks out all the thumbnails that I get, Julian Designs those. She's an amazing artist. And if you follow the Cylon Johns, she does some art for us too. The launch boxes that will be coming out, they've actually been ordered and they're being manufactured right now. She did the artwork for. She also made the amazing Funkos of Johnny and I, which we have to get made somehow. We really do.
There are custom Funko makers out there. I'm sure somebody would do one if you gave them the picture. I'm not sure how much.
Buy them. That's the real.
I know, but you could just have one for you, couldn't you? You'd be like your little channel mascot. It'd be great.
Yeah, but you know me. I'm such an uber capitalist. I try and figure out a way to make money off of anything. That's just the way I work.
Fair enough. Oh, lots of love for Julianne in the chat now as well. That's good.
But so yeah, the meeting in damp places.
Yeah. Just kind of wasting our time, aren't we?
Yeah.
And there's really a point to that. Crowley keeps trying to crack the code. It's funny that Ezra File is more about following the rules, but doesn't really think about how pointless everything they do is.
Yeah, it's kind of, it doesn't really sort of see the logic in it, does it?
Yeah, because everything they do conflicts and contradicts each other. So
yeah, and that kind of that point where, and there's sort of friendship, for want of a better word, he's sort of shocked about, oh no, we can't not do it by the rules.
right.
But it's something he mentioned previously, them cancelling each other out when they were doing their nanny and gardener thing with Warlock. That they were both there because it would cancel each other out, so it wouldn't make him evil and it wouldn't make him good. It would just
be normal.
Yeah.
It's kind of a macrocosm reflection of the world. When you think about it, because there are bad things and good things in the world, and as somebody who's studied Milton so much and was actually considering teaching Milton for a while till I realized how little money college professors make. I love that when you really break it down, this story is about free will.
Yeah.
It's about a person's free will to do what they want.
It's trying to be sort of the been able to see both sides of any argument almost.
I completely agree there. So we move on to the Globe.
Yes, Shakespeare. Who's played by Reece Shearsmith. And in the World War II scene, the two Nazi guys that we've got are played by Mark Gatiss and Steve Pemberton. The three of those guys all together were in a comedy show here some time ago called The League of Gentlemen,
which is
very, very weird. Quite a cult following. It was just kind of entertained me to see the three of them all in an episode.
Mark Gatiss, you may also have recognised as Tycho Stories from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's also an author. I've got one of his books. It's actually quite a funny book. I liked seeing the three of them together, but especially having Mark Gatiss and Steve Pemberton together in the World War II bit. You just kind of almost expect them to start breaking out with some of the League of Gentlemen catchphrases, because you can't have them together.
In the show, you guys are going to give me a new drug.
Oh, it's properly weird.
I'll find out if it's on Prime.
Reece Shearsmith, who was playing Shakespeare, there's the weird, creepy. Oh God, I can't think what he's called now. Popper something, and he's got all his face painted.
Yes,
there's probably nobody that knows what we're talking about. Actually, thinking no one said anything about it in the chat, but yeah, if you want to watch something weird, The League of Gentlemen. Don't say I didn't warn you, because it is a bit strange.
But that's also what is it? It's the Shakespeare one. Is when they sort of start with the agreement of helping each other out.
And I love their Shakespeare. What did you say the actor's name was again?
Reece Shearsmith.
Because I thought it was brilliant how he played him. To me, that's kind of how I always pictured William Shakespeare actually is. He's not this. Well, he was brilliant. He was a genius, who wrote amazing work. But I like seeing him as this very insecure person. I thought it was really funny, and I love the little one-liners that Crowley makes about I like his funny ones. This tragedy, like that's not why nobody's here.
Yeah. I suppose he's not famous enough yet, really, is he?
Bear Island Josh said, how weird is it compared to the Mighty Boosh? It's not the
No,
Boosh
it's not.
kind of level of weird. It's more disturbing weird than funny weird.
Perverse weird.
Like Boosh is. Yeah, we are big fans of the Mighty Boosh as well, though. So, which is another one you need to watch, John, if you haven't already.
No, I've not.
Very odd, very funny.
But yeah, this is kind of where they make their deal.
Yeah, it's quite funny because it's Crowley that suggests it because they both have to go to Scotland, but then he's sort of, when it comes to sort of how, when Shakespeare says, "Oh, it would take a miracle for people to come and see this," he's the one who sort of, "Oh, all right then." Well, so it's sort of okay if I must, whereas he's the one who's trying to be pushing for the cooperation since then.
Yeah. Did you notice though that it was a really brief mention that Crowley was actually saying that like they'd have to do each other's job though. So like Aziraphale would have to be tempting people and Crowley would have to be performing miracles, and we do actually see a bit of Crowley doing that, but there's never any mention of Aziraphale doing anything Crowley-ish. I wonder if he's not really kept his end of the bargain up as much.
Or maybe he just takes people out for supper.
That's very true.
Yeah, just tempts them with grapes.
Meals and so forth.
The character, by the way, that I was thinking of is Papa Lazarou, just in case anybody... don't Google image search that right before you go to bed, because you will have nightmares. It's creepy. But, yeah. It's just a silly made-up character.
Oh, and I do love that in this scene, I don't know how into Shakespeare you guys get, but the actor who's playing Hamlet is Burbage, who actually, in Shakespeare's troupe, would have been the actor who was playing that part. He was Shakespeare's like biggest actor. And I love how they make him such a pretentious twat, too. Like, everybody has that picture. It's not just like a 21st century thing. Like those big actors who, a lot of them are pretentious twats.
Yeah, kind of think very highly of themselves. And yeah, that's the thing. You kind of get the impression that that Shakespeare's not really enjoying the performance as much. He's not really kind of pleased with it. And then obviously the hint is that the only reason that people went to see it is because of a miracle. Otherwise, it might have flopped.
And did anybody catch that Crowley actually says a line from one of Shakespeare's plays?
Yes, because Shakespeare sort of, I like that one, and he sort of sidles away, trying to, almost as if he's going to write it down without anyone seeing him.
Age does not wither. If I remember correctly, I think that's from Romeo and Juliet. I'm not sure about that.
It's been a very long time since I read Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
So, or any Shakespeare for that matter. We're talking like school.
Yeah.
It's a play. It's not meant to be read. It's meant to be watched.
That is true.
I mean, I can enjoy it on a reading level, but when you think about it, like drama's meant to be watched.
Yeah, it's one of the when we did it was quite a lot of Shakespeare was sort of exam pieces for us at school, and we read aloud with that. So like each person would get a part, and
it's not the same when you're sat in a classroom of sort of 20 kids who aren't interested, going, "Oh, yay, Romeo, where art thou?" In a sort of flat Midlands accent.
Yeah, I used to get picked on to do all the lengthy parts because I was quite a fluent reader, and being in sort of like one of the top sets, I was in like the top class for English. There's still people that couldn't read aloud without like pausing between every word. And when you're like a speed reader,
you're just like
painful. It's so
people
painful.
Who can't say I, it's always a.
Yeah, the people that can't pronounce the Shakespearean English.
I have to say, though, my very, very favorite production of any Shakespeare play I've ever seen, the Cincinnati Shakespeare Company is actually considered one of the best Shakespearean acting troupes in the entire United States. And they always do twists on his plays when they do them. And they did A Midsummer Night's Dream set in the Bronx in the 1950s. And like, the actors even did the voices. So it's like, Lysander, why do you stand before me like this? I mean, it was just so brilliant. I don't think I stopped laughing for the entire 2.5 hours. It was brilliantly done. So if you can pull it off, you can change things up. I mean, that's what makes these stories, span over time.
Well, it's sort of the Romeo and Juliet movie when they did that, and it was sort of modernised. It worked.
I remember when I was at school in like year 11, which is like last year of school before you leave. We did a production. Was like I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It was more like a not dumbed down, but it was a Midsummer Night's Dream reworked to be performed by school age kids for school age kids. And it was sort of set around a nightclub and all these kind of things. It was actually really good.
Did they take all the sex out?
Yeah. Again, sort of what age? 15, 16-year-olds. We know all about it, but then because we're performing it for the 13-year-olds, we can't really put that in.
Brilliant.
Miss, what does that mean?
It's always funny. One of those things that it's like when you read something as a youth, and then you read as an adult, and you look at it from an entirely different perspective.
Yes, and you sort of go, "Oh, that's what it's about."
Or it can be the opposite. I remember when I was like 15, I read The Catcher in the Rye, and I just thought Holden Caulfield knew everything, and he was just so freaking cool and all this. And I tried when my son was reading it in high school. I was like, hey, I haven't read this since I was like 15 years old. I'll try it. And reading it as like a 35-year-old man, I was like, what a whiny little bitch. Like, I would smack this kid. It's funny how you're, as you get older, like there's certain things you catch, certain things you change your perspective on.
Yeah, there's stuff that I hated that we read at school that I'd like quite happily read. Like, oh, I hated Wuthering Heights when we did that. God, that was painful to read. But actually, reading it as an adult, I really like it and I own it, and I really like the book and everything now. But God, I hated it when I was at school.
Oh, I like anything by anybody whose last name is Bronte. Huge fan. It's a big chunk of my bookshelf.
I was reading Spike Milligan and Douglas Adams when I was at school, and that's the kind of stuff I still read now. So, afraid Shakespeare never got sold to me. If you had, although saying that, I have read Shakespeare as told by Spike Milligan, which is brilliant.
If you ever get the opportunity, also, oh my gosh, we're on such a sidebar. There is a play called All of Shakespeare's Plays in 1 Hour, which, if you have the right acting company doing it, it's freaking hilarious because it's just like this line and that line, and like it's really funny.
Well, I suppose in a way, Shakespeare does kind of bring us round a bit because obviously the late Sir Terry Pratchett's book Weird Sisters was based around the story of Macbeth from the Discworld series.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Although obviously the whole
too. It was actually probably my second favorite Pratchett book.
What's the first favourite?
Pyramid.
I've not read that one.
No.
I think it might be a warm place in my heart because it was the first one I ever read of his. Because, like, looking back at it, I don't think it's the best by any means, but it was. I liked the story.
I think it's a close tie between Thud and Raising Steam for me.
And I love the idea of alcohol that gives you the hangover beforehand.
Yes.
I don't get that.
Like, why did I wake up with this headache and throwing up? And then later that night you go out and drink.
Yes.
Which
Anyway.
I thought was just a hilarious concept.
There, shall we return to
Yes.
Shakespeare?
We've cited it for long enough. So we
yes,
it's deal.
them deciding that they're kind of going to do each other's job.
And then we sort of we go to the French Revolution after Shakespeare.
Yes.
One True David Adams is in the chat as well. Hello.
Hey, OTDA.
Yes.
Very good to see you.
So we're in France now.
We're in Paris.
Ezra File locked in a cell, about to be beheaded.
And why is he there?
Because he wanted crepes.
Yes.
And brioche.
Yes.
I think it's hilarious because his apparent two favorite foods are sushi and crepes, and I love sushi, and I can't stand crepes.
Crepes aren't that great.
Sushi's nice though.
I don't like sushi either.
I like the way it stares back at me.
California rolls and nori are nice.
Dragon roll. Love me some dragon roll.
I've not heard of that one.
It's like eel with hot pepper and wasabi.
Ooh. See, I can't do the wasabi.
Yeah.
But never mind. You didn't get much sushi in France.
No, they've got any sushi in France. I was ready. If anybody actually picked up what the executioner was saying as he walked into the cell, please put me out of my misery.
It wasn't the executioner; it was just a guard, I think.
No, he was saying he's the best with the guillotine. But yeah, it really frustrated the hell out of me because he was speaking really quickly. I couldn't quite grasp what he was saying, and we have the subtitles on when we watch, and all it said in the subtitles was speaking French.
Yeah, and
when someone speaks German later on, it translates that, but it really frustrated me that it didn't. Because if it was written down, I'd have got it, but when it's spoken, it's too fast.
And you studied French, right?
Yeah. I had an ex whose parents moved to France, so we used to go over. I mean, this is a long, long time. This is like 14 years ago. Yeah, about 14 years ago before we met, and yeah, I'm so out of practice that hearing someone speak it's too quick.
Does that make you feel old?
Yes.
Well, I never took French. I took Latin. And what's nice about having taken Latin is seriously 2/3 of the world. I can find the bathroom. I can drive. I can buy food, things like that. But because so many languages are based on Latin, but like if I tried to speak French, I would sound like me no like.
You'd sound like Ezra File did, and that was nice and slow. I knew what he was saying, but
see, British have the perfect way to speak any language in the world, which is you speak English loud and slow. You can communicate with anyone that way.
As long as you've got a pen and a piece of paper, you can communicate, because then you can draw pictures.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But yes, I love that he's in the Bastille, and then Ezra File Crowley shows up. Crowley keeps saving his ass.
Yeah,
he does.
And also he saves him without being asked as well. He just kind of just frees him, and they get on with it.
Yeah, but it's also like, he's obviously keeping an eye on him somehow. He always knows when he's in trouble.
But it sort of comes across as almost Crowley's playing it. Well, I happened to be in the area and I saw you in trouble, so I suppose I should save you. Kind of always very nonchalant the way it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love the line when Ezra File's like, they're just like animals, and Crowley says, animals don't kill each other with clever machines.
No.
I thought that was a brilliant line.
Yeah.
And then talking about the guillotine and all that, and then Crowley says, I was here for a commendation for great work. And Ezra File's like, you came up with this whole thing? Nope. They came up with it. I just took credit for it.
Yeah, that's a nice sort of callback to the books, because there's it's mentioned that Crowley had to do very little work because the human imagination came up with much nastier things than the demons could.
Yeah,
and I think it's the Spanish Inquisition as well. In the books, humans came up with it themselves, but the head people at Hell credited Crowley with it, and he got drunk for a week or something about like that.
Yeah, Crowley took credit for it, when in actual fact he kind of just sat back and watched people being awful to each other. Yeah, it's.
Oh, I like this. Beryl and Josh says it's kind of a love story between them.
It totally is. I kind of want to get into that a bit later on. We've had a bit more of this. But yeah, he's. I wouldn't. This is where Ezra File says he was reprimanded for too many frivolous miracles.
Yes.
Yeah,
a stiff note from Michael.
Yeah. Oh, Michael Gabriel.
That is Michael.
You don't want to discuss things with Michael, and I got a stiff note from Gabriel.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so he kind of got in trouble, so he can't really be performing miracles too often. And for Crowley, it's just like, oh well, don't worry, I'll do it, no problem.
If your job is breaking the rules, then and tempting people, that's what you do.
I imagine that Hell don't keep tabs on how many miracles he's performing because they don't care.
Yeah. But then again, this is almost like another case of Aziraphale's got himself into trouble due to his own temptation.
Right.
He's gone to France because he was tempted by the food, and then he's got himself landed in the Bastille. So obviously, a frivolous miracle is counted as getting himself out of the shit because he's doing unangelic things.
Yes. Well, gluttony, I suppose.
Sin.
Gluttony. Because I don't think he has much of the other ones. It's lust, wrath,
envy.
Envy's the biggest waste of time anyway. That's one that could never tempt me, I don't think. Sloth. Yeah, I'm pretty lazy.
Given the chance.
And then we have the line I wanted to hear more than anything. I didn't fall.
Yes, I just sort of sauntered.
Kind of sauntered down. I was so happy. It was like a payoff moment when it was actually dropped into the show.
Because they teased it in the first episode, don't they? Because he said in the first episode, I didn't fall. I just hung around with the wrong people. And it was kind of like almost, and you're like, that's not what it said in the book.
Yeah, I think that was in the second episode when he says
that. A previous episode. But yeah, it was kind of, they hinted at that bit and then they didn't quite pay it off. So it's good that they actually have now.
And that's one of those things that we were talking about when we were talking about episode 1. Certain lines, Adams wrote or Pratchett wrote or Gaiman wrote.
Yes.
And I know that was a Gaiman line. That's just so Neil Gaiman. At least I'll put pounds to pennies on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite fun trying to decipher which one of them might have written certain lines, because they kind of they both have their own sort of
distinctive styles.
Yeah, because they're quite unique. You can kind of It's hard to explain it, but this is just the way some things come across that you just like, oh god, that's got to have been written by Pratchett.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of the Pratchett one is the start of the very first episode when they're talking about the demons who are lurking in the graveyard with enough power to lurk around a bit more before dawn. That's such a Pratchettism.
Yes,
and the footnotes.
Yeah.
The footnotes are got to be 100% Pratchett with those.
I mean, just about all these scenes that we're talking about, although none of them appear in the book, I think it's nice that they've actually done this for the episode because it sort of shows the evolution of the relationship between Aziraphale and Crowley.
Agreed, because I mean, you read the book, it's like what 300 some odd pages.
Yes.
I mean, I like that it gives us this backstory that doesn't seem like fluff.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's I
love that the episode doesn't even have a credit roll until halfway through.
Yeah. You told me that before we'd watched it, and I was like, really? I'm thinking, how's that going to work?
With all that, where would you break it though?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Like, this is the past, and this is now.
Yeah.
So the discussion then with
the holy water.
The holy water discussion. Tiff.
Sideburns that Ben loved.
Yes.
I didn't like those ones.
So they were fake, that's why.
Yeah.
But again, sort of, the hints towards the state of their relationship, sort of Aziraphale and Crowley, is Aziraphale won't give him the holy water for fear of what Crowley might do to someone else. It's for fear of what he'd do to himself.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not going to give you this for you to hurt yourself rather than for you to hurt anyone else.
It's too dangerous. It wouldn't. It was like it would destroy you completely. And he calls it a suicide pill. I'm guessing from reading the books that it gets used at some point later on.
It does, but
I certainly hope the holy water scene happens in an episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Crowley's acquisition of it isn't really gone into in the books.
No, it's not, and it's sort of all the more that we know that that's kind of actually what he wants it for. But Aziraphale's so worried about him coming to some sort of harm.
Yeah,
he cares about him too much.
Yeah. It really is a love story.
It is. It's so sweet. And I actually like that they've kind of taken that route with it because it doesn't come across that way in the books at all.
Well, there's only in the books there's only the brief misunderstanding.
Anathema.
Anathema. When she sort of hits Crowley's car, obviously in the books, Crowley leans out and calls Aziraphale angel, and then you've kind of got Anathema's internal monologue, which is going, and she's kind of has a bit of they're like that.
That's why they're a bit weird. Yeah, she assumes that they're a couple.
Yeah, and then that's not as of yet done in the.
Well, no, because they've already done.
Yeah, they've done that bit, but nothing of that ilk is hinted at in the show yet.
Right.
Although, first gripe of the night, I don't like Anathema.
No, I know.
Oh, you don't?
No. Sorry, I think they've balls that up massively.
As an actress, as the character.
As this kind of goes back to this last episode as well, episode 2. The whole thing about her being introduced to Anathema in like her multi-million-dollar condo in Malibu. It's just like, what? What's going on here? Again, I don't know if it's just me being a book snob, but in the book she's like English through and through. She's descended from a mad Lancashire great etc. grandmother who's Agnes Nutter.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from there.
And what bugged me more than anything was the fact that she goes full environmentalist later, and it's like all about the prophecy and hippie and. Well, hold on, you can't really sort of be like that if you've come from your multi-million dollar lifestyle in your super deluxe beachfront air-conditioned condo and all the rest of it. It just doesn't add up in my books.
It might have been wind power.
Solar panels.
No, I'm not convinced. Sorry, she can't play the proper sort of mad hedge witch if she's come from an affluent background, really.
She's not at all.
I can understand.
She's an
I do love that
occultist.
there was the payoff for the apple, though. I really loved that there was that payoff. You know, because for me, anyway, it kind of gave the story like up until 1980, the family was dirt poor, and
Yeah.
you know, and then mom put $5,000 in Apple, which kind of paid off well.
Mhm.
I can see where you're coming from, though, and I think
Mhm.
I'm biased in the other direction because that's like
Yeah.
half of the way I make my income.
That's fair enough. I can grumble about that more later. So, so we've done World War II.
No, we haven't.
Oh no, we haven't. No, we're at World War II now, aren't we?
Well, we were just talking about the holy water.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Oh, so we're post World War II. We're in the 60s.
Oh, we skipped the Blitz scene.
Oh no, sorry. Yes.
yes.
Again, another instance with Crowley doing an unrequested miracle towards the end of that scene by saving Ezra File's books.
Yes. He even saved the books. That was
Yes. Although I did like his little sort of hot dance on the consecrated ground.
yes.
Or trying to be serious.
I thought that was hilarious.
The thing is, though, we've seen him in a graveyard before. That would be consecrated ground, surely.
If we were Catholic, might have been a Protestant graveyard
Fair enough.
or an atheist graveyard, for that matter.
That is true.
Yes.
I only just thought of that.
I actually the writer in me thinks that would be absolutely hilarious, a devoted atheist graveyard. Like, just because of the headstones.
Yeah.
Like, here lies so-and-so, they're just worm food.
Have a tombstone with really tiny writing on saying, if you can read this, you're standing on my face.
Be pretty funny.
One moment. I will be right back.
Where did we get?
So yeah, World War II comes and goes.
Well, no, there's a bit more to it. We've got sort of Ezra File has been recruited
Yes.
by someone he thinks is from British intelligence and
The Nazis.
to try and double cross the Nazis essentially, and then he gets double crossed by them. And
yeah, it goes a little bit Pirates of the Caribbean there.
it does a little bit, but it also kind of shows a bit of an innocence about Aziraphale.
Sort of naivety.
Yeah, he's sort of naive enough to.
Someone says this is for the greater good, and he's right behind it. Oh yes, rather.
Yeah.
But then another instance again of Crowley coming
to the rescue.
Yeah, he happens to be in the area, so he comes to save Aziraphale and get him out of hot water.
And
I
that sort of.
You know, I love that it's so camp and over the top. I love that this scene is just so campy. You know, like, who's more ridiculous, like Ezra File or the Nazi agents or the Nazi spy? Like, it's just done so campy, but it's brilliant, you know.
Yeah. Well, Aziraphale looks like we were saying, so naive almost that he's convinced that he's on the side of righteousness and yes and hurrah and you won't be doing any more mischief. But then I suppose if you're going to have a German Nazi agent, it's like the obligatory outfit is like the gelled hair and the steel rimmed spectacles.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the who's pointing a gun at who, and you know, reminds you of really bad films.
It's a bit like a Carry On film.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, Raleigh saves him.
And
You know,
there's a little demonic intervention to divert the
bombs.
The bombs, the bombers, to make sure they end up there.
And I love the one, once again, just like the French Revolution, like he goes into, we didn't come up with this.
Mm.
Or I think I might have even wrote down. Oh, well, I did get my payoff that they have the Don't Buy Betamax.
Yes. Who plays Peter Max?
I'll have the Fiera look into it. And then
Sasa K says hello as well, by the way. Hello, Sasa.
And did either of you notice that when the tables get turned on Ezra File and he's talking about you got played for a sucker, the agent who's talking starts using different pronouns?
Yes, Harmony goes that you, we, and I are played for suckers.
He did and she
Yes.
did.
Which I'm pretty sure was a joke about the German language.
Yeah.
Because of the different forms of speech.
Yeah, because I have studied a bit of German. Well, at least I did it at high school level, and it's all very I did, you did, we did, they did, he did, she did.
Yeah, that little bit.
It's like a little cheeky dig.
Yeah, all the little cheeky things they do that, this show's just being done so well. I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that Crowley just completely disowns any concept that Nazism would come from hell.
Yeah.
I guess, like, once again, this is something that humans come up with. Like,
don't blame us for this shit. We didn't do anything.
It kind of drives home one of the messages, I think, of the entire book and the entire work. So then we go to Soho.
Yes, 60 Soho.
And we meet a young Shadwell.
You do.
The actor playing young Shadwell does have a much better Scottish accent
than old Shadwell.
Than old Shadwell, I have to say. But yeah, it's funny to see him as young, because that's not in the book. It's quite funny to see him as a young man, and he's still.
He's a witchfinder. Yes.
Yeah, he is the witchfinder army essentially, and
he's a witchfinder, but he's a caser.
Yeah.
Even at that young age, he's so anti-witch, and he's genuinely passionate about it.
Yeah, sort of vitriolic.
Calling the cats funny names and.
Well, I just thought it was a hilarious dichotomy that he wants to hunch these witches and thinks they're evil and so on and so forth, but he's still willing to break into a building and a safe.
A church as well, not just any building.
Yeah, church. You're right. Because Crowley wants something from out of the church.
The holy water again, isn't it?
Yeah, he does mention it in the World War II scene actually, and he's like, "Look at that! There's a whole font full of it, and no one's guarding it."
Yes.
You kind of wonder if that's what gave him the idea.
But again, you sort of, although it's mentioned later in this episode in the books as well, it's sort of mentioned that Crowley and Ezra File are both in contact with Shadwell and the Witchfinder army. But then this sort of first meeting between Crowley and Shadwell, I thought it was nicely done.
Yeah, it adds a little depth. And I think it's so funny that Shadwell, on the one hand, has this holy crusade, but on the other hand, he's just like a sketchy guy who's trying to get money out of people.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, we saw that when he was introduced, didn't we? With him sort of getting Newton to pay for his food and then pocketing the change and
for his hot dog.
Yeah.
I like how they show that dichotomy in the one character.
Yeah. And then we get to the post meeting.
Before that, the other people that were at this meeting that they planned.
Spike.
Oh my god, that woman's voice! Oh, it's like nails on a bloody blackboard that was. It was horrible. Just awful accent. What? Yeah. Just makes
I
you.
guess that's one of the things you guys would catch that I don't. Like, I can generally pick up regions and things like that when I speak to people from the UK.
Oh,
Or she's supposed to be like full, like, what, like, is it East End?
full
West End?
Essex bird, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think it's just fucking awful. It's like one of the most irritating accents.
It's up there with Scouse.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure that's something that bothered you quite a bit more than, like, it's something I really didn't catch.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And then we go to the meeting outside.
Yeah.
Well, you've kind of got Shadwell briefly explaining
What he does, who he is.
the Witchfinder army, and if you've got all this money to throw around and you need anything, just
Yeah.
let us know.
Once again, getting back into how sketchy Shadwell is.
Yeah, so he's got his mission and his crusade, but a few bob going here and there is never going to be a bad thing.
And I have to say that Maud Crowley is like my second favorite Crowley.
Which one's the first favourite?
11 years ago, Crowley. The one that I will be cosplaying at Con of Thrones, hopefully.
So the modern long-haired Crowley.
Yeah. Well, 11 years ago, because modern Crowley has like that coif thing that.
Yeah, that's his Doctor Who hair.
Unless I got Morrissey's hairdresser, I don't think I could ever pull off.
I think I'm all about Noah's Ark Crowley, the nice Viking do.
But I just thought Maud Crowley was funny because I'm like, yeah, back then in Soho, he would have been a mod. Like, I was honestly really surprised that he went out to his Bentley as opposed to like a motor scooter.
Yeah, a scooter or something.
But that's kind of the Bentley is almost his one weakness because he's had that from the 1920s.
Oh yeah. No, I gushed about that car last week. It's
a very nice car.
An object. Yeah, that'd be high on my list. Actually, probably a '63 Jag would be a little higher, but not much.
I can sort you out with one of them.
I was going to say, that's just speciality, isn't it, dear? Yeah.
They're pretty cars.
Yeah.
We get all this lovely. It's kind of sad and cute, this bit at the same time. Ezra File has obviously heard on the grapevine somehow while working in Soho doing goodness knows what that this is going on, and he knows straight away there's only going to be one thing that Crowley would want from inside a church. So despite it sort of being completely against all his morals, he's gonna just give him the holy water so that he doesn't hurt himself. Because he's worried about him
in a thermos flask, which I think is brilliant.
Less suspicious looking, I suppose. It'd have two lids as well, wouldn't it? Because you've got your screw lid on the inside and one on the outside.
But yeah,
very sensible.
But it's sort of definitely from a point of worry, like I don't want you to hurt yourself and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's so sweet that he's like, looking at after Crowley's done all this stuff, kind of looking out for him. Kind of like he's returning the favour, but then when he kind of turns down having a lift, and Crowley's like, no, it's fine, I'll take you anywhere. And the way he looks at him, and then he kind of goes, you go too fast for me.
Yeah,
it seems like a very loaded statement.
Yeah,
I think.
I like the should I say thank you? Probably not. Like, it's funny, all the little references they throw in about Crowley not being able to say certain things, like in the last episode, when he's like, don't call me nice. Nice is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Don't ever use that in reference to me. I thought, that was kind of brilliant, and I think they keep going on with that, which I like. But then he's like, well, what can I do for you? And maybe we'll go on a picnic sometime. or take me to the Ritz.
Yeah, so it goes back to food again.
But they do go to the Ritz, don't they, in the book? So
Mhm.
I don't know if they'll do that later on in the series. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just he's not talking about his driving when he says that. I think.
It's very cute. It's a very sweet love story in a really weird way.
That's the thing, though, because yes, it is like almost. It's almost romantic, but it's not because it's platonic, and it's a very it's quite difficult to define, really. You know, I don't think there's any sort of attraction or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a physical.
Yeah, it's
thing,
and I would assume being angels that then they're not equipped for that anyway. By how Gaiman has written angels previously, I would imagine he would stick to that. So
I don't know, Nephilim. You've got Nephilim.
But I suppose like Angel, the sort of Ezra File, he sort of exudes love for all things. So
yeah,
there's no reason why it shouldn't extend to Crowley, seeing as they're friends by that point.
yeah.
It's very sweet.
That's kind of the end of the
intro.
yeah, of the
So then we
backstory.
finally get the credits. Yes, halfway through the episode, like 32 minutes in, I think.
It was something ridiculous like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of get this fast forward of events up to the phone call. Sorry, right number.
Yes.
Right. So Ben, you said you don't care for Anathema, the way she's written into the show.
Yeah.
How do you like Newton?
Newton, I think, is perfect. Newton, Jack Whitehall as Newton Pulsifer is brilliant.
Yeah, I don't actually like Jack Whitehall anyway, so I'm quite surprised that I like him in this role because he annoys the shit out of me.
But then again, a bit of backstory on Jack Whitehall. When he first appeared on the British comedy scene, he was like this overprivileged yuppie kid who just used to go on about how sort of fabulous things were, and he was just like this hateful prig that no one liked. But then in the late recent years, he's sort of calmed down and grown up a bit, so he's become a lot more tolerable.
Yeah, he's sort of
Yeah,
seen
I'll calm down and grow up a bit.
when he was on like panel shows and stuff, he's just so annoying. He's like overly posh and silly and camp and just.
It was so crazy. We just went out and bought loads of cocaine, and then Mummy picked me up.
It's all put on as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across as very sincere. It's almost like a caricature that he's playing.
But in his role as Newton Pulsifer, he's sort of playing the sort of the downtrodden hero to be almost very well.
Yeah.
So he's just desperately trying to help, but everything he touches just turns to shit. Really.
Or explodes.
Oh no, and that's the way the character's written. Like he loves technology,
but he's totally
anything technological like just blows up in his hands.
Yeah. No, I think Newton Pulsifer is possibly one of the best castings out of the series.
Yeah, I think he works well.
And when they again calling back to episode 2, when Jack Whitehall also plays "Thou Shalt Not Commit Adultery" Pulsifer.
Yes, that was him as well.
Lancashire witch hunter.
Yeah, he's. I think a few people probably wouldn't have spotted that was him that played that part as well when he's got the hat and the long hair and everything.
No, I don't think I did until like the second or third time I watched it. With the makeup and the hair and everything, I didn't even pick it up. But I love how a lot of shows do that, where they're throwback and it's history and it's somebody's communicator, and it's actually the same actor or actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was very well done.
It was. I love the Ezra File practicing his speech to Gabriel. because what he's essentially going to be proposing to them is that they get rid of said child, and
And he's really not comfortable with it.
he's not comfortable with it, but he's
Well, that he's
kind
going
of
to
okay
turn
with
in
it.
his report at the office and say, "Hey, I really royally fucked up."
Yeah.
Mm.
I think this thing with Ezra File as well is that he, throughout this episode as well, he gets really conflicted with what he knows he should do and what he feels is the right thing to do. There's because it's the ineffable plan, and this must happen, and this is what's going to happen. This is what God has said, and this is the right thing to happen. But at the same time, it's almost like he's got the little angel on his shoulder going, "Yes, but really, come on, it's a child. Do you really want to do that?"
Mm.
Yes, and then you get to see the payoff for that scene when he meets with the angel higher ups,
Yes.
and you have Michael and Gabriel and Sandophile, who is just creepy,
Yeah.
and who's the other?
Uriel.
Uriel. Thank you. And I should remember that because those are actually the three angels that are actually named in the Bible, are Michael, Gabriel, and Uriel. And you realize the angels are just not pleasant.
No.
Like, you thought Gabriel was bad.
They're like shitty middle managers, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got their job to do, and they're going to do it, and it's just for the means of justifying the ends to them.
Yeah, don't even think about it. And Michael's almost actively unpleasant.
Yeah.
But again, which one out of the other three is Michael? Just
The blonde woman.
Doom, what's her face? I've forgotten her name.
I can't remember the actress's name, but
The white lady.
The white lady, right?
Yeah, the blonde woman, and actively unpleasant, and which is funny because if you know anything about theology, and Michael's the angel of death,
I thought that was Azrael.
and Michael is the angel, like the head of the army of heaven. Now that Lucifer's gone, and is supposed to be the crusher of Lucifer and so forth. I mean, I've got him tattooed on my body, but it is like I thought it's really funny that she almost has this like one track mind, like that's all she can think about.
Yeah. Again, they've been given that job, and it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Oh, War and God's Army are her thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
That's like War and God's Army. That's her thing.
Yeah.
She won't. This is what's going to happen, and that's that.
Yeah,
she's not going to be.
We're doing this because the Almighty said so.
Yeah.
And it drives things down to, these angels who stay in heaven and these devils who stay in hell. Like, it's like, oh, my job is to be an air conditioner, and I keep the house cool. It's almost the same type of thing. It's like no identity, no free will, no.
Just the raison d'etre.
Yeah, there's like no deviation from their given purpose.
Right. But if that's supposed to be heaven, like, I'm a pretty religious person, but I really hope heaven isn't that boring.
It's like all very
clinical.
Yeah, clinical and sterile.
Like an airport.
Yeah,
like a very clean airport.
Whereas when we went to hell with Crowley in episode 1, wasn't it? When they went on the escalators.
On the escalators, which I thought was brilliant.
It didn't look horrendous, really, did it? Just a bit busy.
A bit dingy.
It looked like a grimy nightclub.
Yeah.
Looked like a club that you're just like tired of being at. You're like, I've been here so long, I just want to go. But a lot more interesting than this expression of heaven, which I think is terribly amusing.
Oh, Bear Island Josh has just nailed it. He said her aspect was upon her.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed.
It's I just realised you won't get that one of the short stories that we did between American Gods and this. It's a reference to that because that's one about angels.
Urban Mysteries.
Murder mysteries. So
So
they don't really believe him, do they? They're kind of just like, just your silly hypotheticals. We're not interested. We've got jobs to do.
And they have the discussion afterwards.
yeah,
And Gabriel, who, by the way, angel terms, is the voice of God. I mean, he's the one who told Mary she was going to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Marian, John the Baptist's mother, like he announced the birth of these children. Like he is the voice of God, and he's like, "This is weird."
yeah, they're very dismissive of him, and it's obvious that Aziraphale's having a hard time getting it across. And then when he says, we think the Antichrist has been misplaced, there's no sort of, oh really? Have we been chasing the wrong one? It's like, so they're just totally deadpanning.
Shit's happening. It's all good.
Because but again, it's almost like their one-track mindedness of no, it can't be because this is the ineffable plan, and it can't go wrong because it's ineffable.
Like nothing can throw a spanner at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, actually, just a bad baby swap can really change things a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, I think we might have skipped this, the scene when Ezra File, when Crowley meets with Shadwell.
Yes, present day Crowley and Shadwell.
Yes. He's kind of, swindling money out of them. It's just after we've kind of missed out Anathema and Adam's thing, but we can come back to it.
Dog.
Yeah, we've got Newton in the office alone. He's kind of looking at things and sorry, sweetie, I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, and actually Ezra File meets with him first. Oh, and one of the things I totally picked up, I'm sorry, I'm hopping all over the place. The horseshoe.
Yes.
Because, we have the scene. I'm hopping all over the place. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is after we see Aziraphale practicing his speech to Gabriel. It jumps to Dog.
Adam and Dog. Yes.
Yes, and I'm so glad they did that because I think I said after episode 1, it's a shame that they hadn't given you more of the sort of backstory stuff of the dog, because in the book it explains very much kind of what's going on in the dog's head. And it makes a lot more sense then, but they have kind of touched upon it now with talking about how it's
this aspect of hell burning away.
Yeah.
But again, all the dog stuff is definite Pratchett writing.
Well, is with the horseshoe, I mean, the whole point isn't that it's a horseshoe; it's that it's cold iron, which means it hasn't been forged to the point where it's melted down. It's just heated up and then smelted, and you have a cold iron thing. As someone who has a railroad tie out over every entrance to my house, I thought the joke was absolutely hilarious.
It's not from the book either, is it? In the book, he just doesn't want to go in the house.
No, it is. It is from the book.
They don't mention the horseshoe.
It does mention the horseshoe in the book.
I don't remember that.
Because in fact, it says that the horseshoe melts or something like that.
Does it?
It definitely gets glowing.
Yeah,
it's definitely in the book.
I don't remember that bit at all. I just remember that he just didn't want to go in.
No, it's definitely then there.
Fair enough.
I read it last week. So.
I love the little bits of it's the specific lines from the book.
Yeah.
About him, trying to terrorize a cat, and he's gonna try again, and this time he's gonna jump up and down and wag his tail and yap, and it's like
it's gonna be his new experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to jump up and down and wag his tail and yap. He's turning from a hellhound into a dog.
Yeah. 100% Pratchett there.
Yeah. And then we've got the proper meeting now between Anathema and Adam.
Anathema smashing flower pots for some reason.
Yeah, that was a little bit over the top. I think he does just hear her crying in the book, if I remember rightly, because we had that brief encounter between them previously in the woods, and it was a bit like, that's not how they're supposed to meet.
Right.
I
can see where you're saying it's over the top, but have you ever been that upset about something that you need to break something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think everybody has.
Yeah.
Me, I go to the range, or I go to the batting cage. Like, for anybody out there, the batting cage is the best stress relief on the planet. You just take a bat and hit balls for like an hour. And it's like physically releasing, plus you're just hitting shit. You feel good, but you haven't broken anything.
I think our choice would be you'd have to go play tennis or something, wouldn't you? Not going to find a baseball cage around anywhere.
No. But no, they sort of have, again, the sort of the meeting between Anathema and Adam, that's very, very, very close to what it is in the book. Sort of the speech, at least, as well, about him sort of about Adam going on about his story with the dinosaurs and the spaceship and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you'd like my book?
Yeah. Although, gripe number 2, it's one of the things I don't feel has transposed well from the book to the show is the attitude and the behaviours of the kids, because obviously when the book was written, these were 80s kids, and they kind of would almost be a bit more imaginative and have more toys, whereas trying to put it in a 2019 setting, 11-year-olds wouldn't. 11-year-olds have got Justin Bieber and iPads.
Yeah.
And it kind of they've literally lifted it out of the 80s and dropped it now, and it doesn't quite sit and gel properly.
Okay, yeah, I can see what you mean there.
I mean, as a faithful story from the book, brilliant.
Right.
But it doesn't almost make sense because of that now. Because you sort of watch it and go, but 11-year-olds don't do that anymore.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's to the point where it's ruins it or anything like that, but it is distracting.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin it by any stretch of the imagination, but sort of encountering school kids regularly, having only a couple of children and sending them to school, you get a feel for what 11-year-olds are like now.
Yeah, I get it, but then for me, it doesn't really detract from it with me, because I kind of see it as well. They live in this tiny little perfect village out in the countryside, and his parents are quite old-fashioned, and everybody around them seems quite old-fashioned, and they do just still go out and play in the woods and build dens.
Except for Galadriel Moonbeam, she's not very old-fashioned.
No, it's the thing. Sort of, Pepper isn't, and then sort of, I think Brian just likes to get muddy, and then Wensleydale's there. You kind of get the impression Wensleydale's there because they're the only kids that didn't pick on him.
I have to say, like in the second episode when they talk about Wensleydale,
yes,
about his future in chartered accounting.
Yes, the only separation there is time.
Yeah.
He is the exact opposite of my accountant.
I think that's possibly the difference between an American and a British accountant then.
Like my accountant is a gay Asian man with tattoos all over his body.
Not the typical.
No.
What you'd think of.
No, and I think you have this like preconceived idea of what an accountant would be like, but that's my accountant. He's actually quite good. Or I wouldn't employ him.
But what were we on?
Yeah, she's. He asks her outright if she's a witch,
Yes,
because she lives at Jasmine Cottage, and she says, "No, I'm an occultist."
That's okay.
Which is almost like someone saying, "Are you a shelf stacker?" No, I'm an executive stock replenishment operative.
Well, no, an occultist wouldn't necessarily be somebody who practiced magic, which, an occultist could be somebody with a special interest in the subject who researches it or that kind of thing. I can see a difference between the two. So, yeah, it's quite sweet. He's just like, oh well, yeah, that's all right then. He's sort of taking it very literally.
Oh, you're not a witch. Fine.
Okay. Actually, Seth K points out that the Antichrist is a lot nicer than most 11-year-olds, which.
Again, it's like they're quite sheltered. I think.
Yes.
They're in this tiny little village, and it's all the weather's always perfect, and
it always snows on Christmas Eve, and the autumns are always crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The summers are always long, and yeah.
But then you've still got the characters like R.P. Tyler as well.
Oh God. Yes.
And
Father Young as well.
So she invites him into the cottage, and she's talking about sort of environmentalism things, and she mentions to him that she can see auras, and she tells him that she can't actually see his, and at the time, at the time she kind of dismisses it and says, well, it's an art, it's not a science. Yeah. It's fine, but then later on we see it. She's looking at everyone else, and she can see everybody else's auras.
When it's taken directly from the book, God actually says the reason she couldn't see Adam's aura is the same reason that people sitting in Times Square can't see the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because it's everywhere.
Because they're in it.
And did either of you catch that Adam says, this is my world from there to there?
Yeah.
And that's not from the book, but I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, it kind of puts it's sort of referenced in the book later on, because it's almost the unconscious wish to protect it, because it talks about how things, there was a bypass that was planned to go through Tadfield, and it just got moved because it's Adam's almost antichristal powers which enveloping Tadfield in his almost like a protective love. So it's preventing things from spoiling that.
And also the fact that just Adam is a supernatural being. It's not like a normal human. His aura is so big. If you're within a couple miles of him, you're inside it.
Mm-hmm.
That was always the impression I took from that.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like as well when it zoomed out on the map. Yeah, it was covering an enormous area.
It was covering almost the whole UK on the map.
Someone's mentioned in the chat that she doesn't tell him in the book that she can't see it. It's something that she remembers afterwards that she couldn't see it, but it's not really that important. And she sends him off with all the magazines
New
about
Aquarian.
Yeah. And the eco warrior stuff.
But again, I think there's stuff. It's quite nice that they reference to the things from the book, like Atlantis Rising and things like that, which you see on like the flash images of the covers of the magazine. But those things have already almost been reported through the narrative in the book by this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, it's one of those things. They can't obviously include everything from the book, but it's nice that they've got these little nods to it here and there.
Right, and you put forth the argument that in 2019 it wouldn't be a magazine, it'd be a website.
Yeah, that's true.
Or something like that. Kind of like what you were talking about the way kids behave now. What they do with the time, and so I can see that. And then Anathema, I can't remember his name from the Neighborhood Watch.
R.P. Tyler. His poodle.
And his bright red, angry-looking aura.
Yes.
Because I loved that character in the book so well.
Yes, his permanent angry monologue going inside, which is just manifests as constant letters to the editor.
just that person who has to whinge all the time about everything. I think
only those kinds of people are in charge of neighbourhood watch schemes, really, aren't they?
Well, if anyone's ever seen Hot Fuzz, there's a good reference to neighbourhood watch schemes.
Oh, what is it?
A film called Hot Fuzz.
Okay, I'm familiar. My son told me I need to watch it.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Yeah.
Incredibly funny.
Mm.
But so and then he's talking about smoking your spliffers.
Oh,
Fatty spliffers.
fatty spliffers.
Fatty spliffers, and maybe you should go back to America.
Yeah, that was a what was it? And what does he say? Something and wobble off to woo woo land.
Yeah, bimble off to woo woo.
Bimble off, that was it. Bimble off to woo woo land. But yeah, fatty spliffers. I think that's like my new favourite word. Phrase.
Which it's just absolutely hilariously done.
Yes.
And then we go back to
Newton in the office.
Newton in the office.
Yeah, we kind of covered that, and that's when he pulls out the ledgers, and that's when we go to Shadwell and Crowley.
That's when he notices the weather effect for Tadfield.
Yes.
Isn't it?
And
then that sort of jumps. There's not really a lot goes on there, to be honest. And then it goes to Shadwell and Crowley in the calf.
Yeah. And I love that Newton, that Shadwell thinks that Crowley is actually Crowley's son.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose maybe that's maybe a story Crowley fed him.
Clean living. And then we get into all the members of the Witchfinder army.
Yes.
Yeah.
Poor deceased Witchfinder Sergeant Milk Bottle.
After he ran out of Smiths and Jones and
Sergeant Pepper.
Yes.
Oh, that one was brilliant.
Like I remember it. Like I literally had to pause the show when he said that because I was laughing so hard. I'm like, I'm not even going to be able to hear it.
Yeah. That was brilliant.
And the thing, Crowley totally knows he's talking bollocks. He's just like, yeah, whatever. This is what I'll send you.
Well, that makes you wonder, like how much. This is one of the questions that's never really touched in the show or the book. I don't think, or at least hasn't been touched in the. How much knowledge of what human beings are thinking do angels and demons have?
You sort of suppose you sort of take from it that they don't, because going back to episode 2, when they go to the hospital, what was the hospital, Crowley has to sort of use his magic on the reformed nun to almost like bring the memories back. He can't just sort of look into her mind and see the memories, or just know them. He actually has to he actually has to retrieve them. So you kind of get the impression they don't have any sort of mind reading abilities.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that's ever like really talked about or touched on, but it's one of the things that I really wonder about, because they're supposed to be divine beings. But on the same note, they can't read each other's minds, because when Ezra File meets with Michael, Uriel, Gabriel, and the creepy guy, what's his name? File?
Yeah.
Or Fawn. They don't know what he's thinking.
No. Which would have given the game away straight away, I suppose.
Yeah.
And Shadwell doesn't understand like the whole thing about normal weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just dismisses it straight
doesn't
on.
Get it. Yeah. But just before that is when Madame Tracy answers the call from Ezra File.
Yes.
You know, hello. Like, creepiest hello ever. And then she puts on that awful posh
Yes.
voice, or what she thinks is.
And then she asks for her plates back.
Yes, because she's talking about, oh yes, I've got us this
That's
for
got
our
liver.
tea, and
But again,
things
that's
like
a nice nod to the books.
it is, because in the books she always plates him up a Sunday dinner and leaves it outside his door.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
And he's saying, oh, I'd rather eat with the devil, kind of thing. And she's like, well, just give me the plates back. And
Yeah. Mr. Shadwell and his funny ways.
You say that, but we do it all the time.
Yeah, it's a very. I love the actress who's playing her. I think.
Miranda.
I'm sorry.
I know Miranda Richardson. Yes, she's sort of like British comedy royalty.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Blackadder, was it Blackadder II? She plays Queen Elizabeth I.
I watched Blackadder like my freshman year of college, and I don't remember most of my freshman year of college.
Well, yeah.
Definitely worth a rewatch.
Series 2 of Blackadder. It is Elizabethan times. So yes, Miranda Richardson, Madame Tracy, plays Elizabeth I, and she, it's fantastic because she's basically almost like a spoilt bratty kid.
Yeah.
And you get all sort of the names in there. Stephen Fry is obviously a recurring character, and you get the late great Rick Mayall.
Elizabeth I was kind of a spoiled bratty kid.
Yeah, but this is she kind of plays it as like a very much. But I want it now, kind of.
Bring me presents.
Yes.
I'm gonna
have you brought me anything nice? Why not? But no, it's refreshing to see her in something.
Yeah, she's a good actress. And,
yes, I'm enjoying her character and her portrayal of the character quite well.
Yes.
In fact, it might even go so well as to say it might be the most true to the book portrayal of a character in the show.
So far, yeah, definitely.
Except, of course, for Crowley and Ezra File.
Yeah.
It's a shame the same can't be said for Shadwell, in my view. But
yeah, wow, he might redeem himself.
He should be a lot more grizzled and grotty, I think.
Oh, and drinking condensed milk all the time. Yeah. There's only one thing that stuff's good for, and that's making fudge.
It's like I talked about last week. I know you guys weren't here, but like people tell me I take my tea like a little kid.
That's because you do.
Because I take milk in 3. Can you imagine putting your tea? Like, why do his teeth look so good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they should just be like these rotted out
stumps.
Stumps. Yeah.
He should definitely have a case of summer teeth, really. But yeah, because some would be broken, some would be missing.
When he comes into the office, actually, and they're talking about the weather things, he's like, oh yeah, what kind of weather is it doing this? Is it raining fish? Which we're totally going to have to see at some point because it is in the credits, isn't it, at the beginning?
Yes.
The fish falling from the sky. So I'm hoping at some point we're going to get that in one of the later episodes, which is from the books.
Which actually is an atmospheric phenomenon that happens, and there's no supernatural reason for it.
It's to do with the winds, isn't it? They kind of get sucked up out of the sea and dumped elsewhere.
Which,
not that I've ever seen a downfall of trout or anything, but
you'd eat for a week. So we go to the
famine.
The breakup scene.
We meet Famine first.
Oh yes, my man Famine, who I think is another character who's so well cast.
Yes,
very much,
very well cast. However, I can't help feeling the intros to the Four Horsemen thus far have been very rushed. It's sort of like
Yeah,
they've tried to cram all the backstory into a 5-minute scene, and then, here's the horseman, blah blah, done. Next, it's almost like a courtesy just to introduce them, and they're trying to do it as quickly as possible. Because I really wasn't impressed with War's introduction on the last episode.
yeah, you weren't happy about that. So,
Oh, see, I liked it. I mean, I felt that it was very close to the introduction of her in the book.
I think it's funnier in the book when she's in the hotel and
there's more depth, and they sort of going on about the topless beach, and no, it's a strategic, tactical aspect.
Okay,
yeah.
I can see where you're coming from there.
But there's more depth to it in the book, whereas it's just sort of this time it's just kind of hi, war correspondent, and they all start shooting each other, and then the FedEx man, for want of a better word, turns up with the sword.
I did talk about this last week. I love how politely British the FedEx man is.
Yes.
Yeah, he's.
You both are my friends from Britain, so I don't mean that in a mocking way in the slightest. I think it's just such an exaggeration of like the scene with War when he's like, "Oh yeah, I've always wanted to take my family here on holiday."
Yes.
So overly polite.
Yeah, sort of almost completely oblivious to the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally liked the introduction of famine, and I thought the character was great. I loved the "don't call this food."
Yes, how they talk about the chow is fantastic, and the little button that they press with all the disclaimers.
Yes,
you actually listen to them carefully are hilarious.
Yeah, again, those.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
Sorry. But the whole thing about when he opens the suitcase and all the going on about the food that isn't actually food and all that, that's sort of done in the narrative in the book. It's not announced by Sable. And you always get the impression it's only him who actually knows what's going on, whereas his accountant or his PA, whoever he's with, doesn't. She thinks it's genuinely like a meal, like a genuine dieting thing.
In the book, when he's introduced, he's like a celebrity, isn't he? Because of
his revolutionary dieting techniques.
Yeah, and so he's a celebrity because of his invention of this. Whereas in this one, he's not.
It's more like he's out there deliberately being nasty to make money, and he's put all his PAs just like, okay.
Yeah. But then you look at the way the food's described in the restaurant that he's actually at, with the fucking bag of lavender air.
Yes, and the chicken foot.
Yes,
mushroom foam.
Being a person who is really into fine dining, like I loved how hilarious. Like for me, I there was another scene that I had to pause first time I watched it because I thought it was the bag of lavender air. Like I was like, yeah,
that's your first course.
I can actually see this.
Yeah, it's just like pretentious wankery over non-food, essentially. I mean, that's probably about as nutritious as chow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Chicken froth, mushroom foam, and
broccoli gel.
Broccoli gel, that was it. It's just, whoa, that's not food.
Sounds like a kind of toothpaste.
Salmon's Taylor, though. I really want to call whoever's Taylor is. Yeah, probably can't afford it though.
Oh, the other thing with the chow is the cook.
That's the nice little nod to Elvis.
Oh, yes.
Straight out of the book that was, wasn't it? And he's
now, do you think he's going to keep appearing? Because he does in the book. It's always underplayed, but he does in the book, and the entire payoff is going to be when we're introduced to death.
I don't know. I'm not sure if they will do it. It's
I don't recall that bit from the book, to be honest.
Okay,
because in the book, from what I remember, we get the introduction when Sable goes to the Burger Lord, and he doesn't like it because there's the cook / Elvis is singing different songs to the general background brain mush music that the Burglord are playing, and so he wants him fired. And we don't really encounter, and that obviously, that again, that's just in the book, and I don't recall encountering him again.
No, because when you meet Death in the book, he's playing the trivia machine.
Yes.
And he keeps getting every answer right.
Yeah.
And as the different horsemen walk in, the topics change. So it changes from like, music, blah, 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 to like war, famine, pestilence, or pollution. Who I'm excited about meeting Pollution, by the way. And then it's like Death, and he keeps getting the answers right. And then the question comes up: what year did Elvis die?
Yes.
And then Death's like, he won't hit the answer, and he's like, I never took him. And for me, that was like the entire payoff of the Elvis thing being there, because the whole.
I am looking forward to seeing Death, and if he hasn't got glowing blue eyes, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Yeah. That's kind of. I don't think we should say too much more about Death, because it might be spoilery for them as well. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, that was we bit spoilery, but yeah, Death never took Elvis. Elvis is still alive.
Yeah,
he's cooking burgers at Burger Lord or at Cow.
And then we've got
which kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Yeah, although I do love Crowley's description of what he thinks of the plan. He says, "Great pustulant mangled bollocks to the great plan." That was fantastic.
Yeah,
that's pretty good as insults go.
Yeah.
No,
mangled bollocks is going to be another one of my favourite insults, I think.
I think Crowley gets some of the best dialogue in the show.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But I think that's also as well. It's David Tennant's delivery.
Yeah, he's a brilliant actor. I think throughout the show, although we've seen Crowley doing a lot of stuff for Ezra File, the sort of feeling side of it seems to be the other way. It's like how Ezra File feels about Crowley. Yet it's Crowley's the one who's saying, we could just go off somewhere together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
the big universe.
Oh, that's so sweet. He wants to elope with him. It's another one.
Yeah, it would be eloping.
It's another one of those things that makes it seem like they've got this lovely, sweet, romantic kind of relationship and
a bromance.
No, not really.
Well, goodbye, Braun. We love you.
Oh, bye.
Up to school. Thank you so much. Everything you do.
Queen of the Spanners.
Queen of the Spanners. The one spanner that rules them all.
I completely lost my train of thought now. Oh, well, he says that they're friends, and Aziraphale's like, but we're not friends.
Yeah.
We're an angel and a demon, and we're on opposite sides. And Crowley's like, no,
it's our side.
We're on our side.
I think again, that little particular bit there, it goes back to what I said earlier about Aziraphale. He's so angst-ridden and conflicted with what he should be doing and what he wants to be doing, what he kind of almost morally believes is right, and ineffably believes is right.
Right.
And then it's just manifesting as the anger towards Crowley.
And that's one of the things about you never see God actually interfere.
No.
So maybe there is an ineffable plan.
Yeah, possible spoiler territory there.
And I love my personal favorite line from this entire episode. Well, fine then. Have a nice doomsday.
Yeah.
Which I once again, it gets back to the actor. I thought was just brilliantly delivered, though.
Yeah, I think it's the way the characters are portrayed as well, because most of the time throughout these episodes, you see Ezra File as either worrying, indignant, or quite chirpy. Whereas Crowley, you've kind of got a greater range of emotions he's been portraying.
Mm.
Yeah, because you sort of start off with sort of, you go back to, like, if you sort of look through almost the history of their scenes together from Garden of Eden through, it's like happy Crowley, then he gets bored, and then it's sort of, again, the nonchalant rescuing, and then he's the tempting Crowley, and he goes back to sort of comedic Crowley, and it's sort of, there's a lot more there.
Yeah. It almost makes me think of the original, way back 1980s Batman movie. Like, maybe Ezra File just needs an enema.
Well, he's just got this almost like this. Again, it's like the naivety that everything will be okay.
Right. And he does things that he knows are wrong, or well, he's conflicted about everything. I wouldn't say he does the things that he knows are wrong, but he doesn't act
Because
when
it's
he
part
knows he ought.
Yeah, because it's in the name of righteousness, which means it's okay.
Right. Exactly.
And if you can get a crepe at the end of it, then it doesn't matter.
All about the crepes.
It's all about the grapes. So we end the episode with Adam reading.
Yes.
Yes, about nuclear power stations, and he already thinks they're a bit rubbish, and
Yeah. No bubbling green stuff.
yeah, and now they're no good for the environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did love the dialogue between him and Anathema, which is a few scenes ago. But when they're
Yeah.
talking, and she's like talking about nuclear power stations, he's like, "Oh, they're rubbish."
Yeah.
He's talking about like the dangers to the environment, and he's like, "Yeah, there wasn't any bubbling green stuff or anything like that."
Yeah.
He
He
really,
didn't let us hold anything radioactive, and yeah,
he really comes across as an 11-year-old kid.
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I expected it to be exciting, and
It
it
wasn't.
wasn't at all. But I like the way they've done this, in that they've kind of had the voices whispering while he's sleeping. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so it's kind of showing that his power's growing and starting to manifest, but he still isn't aware of it at the moment, or if he is, it's only on this subconscious level while he's asleep, and it's his sort of dream self, essentially, that just gets rid of the reactor. No reactor, no problem. All the radioactive stuff's gone.
And again, the sherbet lemons are a nice little book nod as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the reactor still does its job, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you could produce that much power off one sherbet lemon. Technical aspect, how did that guy who opened the reactor up manage to see all the way down to the bottom of that one sherbet lemon? He's got some bloody good eyesight.
Yeah, that's some inhuman, I say. Those things are like, I mean, we don't have one around here. I mean, we have them in the States, but not around where I live. But those things are like, yeah, what, like 200 feet
Something like that.
or so tall, and yeah, good eyes.
Yeah. Although the reactor scene, it's not in the book, but it's kind of something that always happens. Is obviously they had to phone the Prime Minister or the Minister, someone in Parliament, to be able to get permission to open the reactor. And it seems that if there's any sort of comedy and you get a chance to poke at a British member of Parliament, it's always some sort of sordid sexual thing.
Okay.
He's not the call boy in his room.
Very feminist man.
Tapping his watch on the clock here.
Which, yes, I did think was absolutely hilarious.
If you can send up a respected member of the Parliament, why not?
Exactly.
You always have to make fun of those in power. I don't think I'll take that statement any further. Might be a bit confrontational here in the States.
Just a tiny bit.
Just a wee bit. But yeah, so I thought this was a great episode. What did you guys think overall?
Definitely better than last week's episode. Lots and lots of book stuff in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Probably other things that we've completely missed. But yeah, I'm excited for the next one now.
I'm gonna watch it right after we get offline.
It was an okay episode. I'm just sort of in the boundaries of okay rather than mediocre. But I think the story of the episode was brilliant and the delivery was brilliant. Again, like the Ezra File and Crowley scenes together were fantastic, especially the ending. It's just the things that bug me are the bits I've mentioned that don't quite make sense. I just can't get on with Anathema and the rushed introductions to the horsemen. I mean, I know they're sort of, at the minute, they're not major characters, the horsemen, but I kind of feel they could have done a little bit more. And that's sort of that's a little bit that spoiled it for me, because they do get quite a lot more time in the books.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So
it was good, but could have been better.
It might just be that they kind of go into it a little bit more towards the sort of final scenes, because there are a couple of chapters that are quite heavily focused on them. So it could just be that they're saving it because there's other stuff that's more important at this point.
Yeah, go with that.
So.
What would your ranking be?
I will give it 9.3 pustulant mangled bollocks.
And how about yourself, then?
I think I'm going to have to. I'll give this one 6 fatty spliffers.
Oh, that's harsh. 6.
I know.
It's
like a C minus.
And again, there's
niggles.
There's niggles, and unfortunately, the niggles are niggling quite a bit.
Okay, I can get that. I will give this episode 9.4 witch needles.
Oh, we haven't got to that bit yet, have we?
The pin.
The pin, yes.
That was last week.
Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing, because we just watched it and didn't take any notes, so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for coming by. I'm glad we got to discuss this. We'll be talking episode 4 next week. If anybody has any thoughts, please drop them in the comment section below, or if you're watching this a bit later. And you guys have anything else? Any last thoughts on the episode or anything like that?
No, just I really enjoyed all the non-book stuff in this one as well. Just all that backstory between them.
The whole first half of the episode. Oops. Really, really good.
Yeah, the whole first half is why I ranked it so high. I thought the first half was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special mention to the escaping unicorn as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you've got one left. It's going to struggle on its own.
Yeah, it's not going to be able to make babies. So everyone, thank you for coming by. We will see you next week. And in the meantime, please believe.